Hey, so I was purposely sitting there kind of not talking. I thought the theme of today is being idle. What I've noticed in my own life and attempt, in my best to be in alignment with my own self is that I sometimes don't leave enough time for myself just to literally do nothing. And we're in quarantine time still. And gosh, it's near the end of April. I think it's April 30th today. There's a helicopter flying over. That's unusual. We haven't gotten any air traffic for a month and a half. So I guess I'll talk while the helicopter's flying over. I can see it now. It's a helicopter. I don't know if you guys want to see it. It's up there. Chopper, 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 chopper. I guess doing something. It's so weird they just turned the world off. Weird, but also awesome. I'm a big fan of change. Especially change that includes a really big element. It's like telling people in America and the entire world, from Zimbabwe to the Philippines. I just talked to a family in Peru, actually sent them some resources, and everyone's home. Everybody, go home. That's what they're saying, go home. Do what? Just be there. Yeah. There's a really amazing element with this working with duality, working with sovereignty and working with connection and being in alignment with the self. There's an element that I discovered when I was, it's an interesting and fun time. I was in Bali. It was right after the SARS. I meant to Google it. When was SARS? 2001, 2002? So this is something almost like 18 years ago. I was in my late 20s. And I was staying at a beautiful villa. I had just traveled, it's actually in the book, when I traveled from Maui to Bali, and I live at this like whole temple home. While I was there, every single thing you could imagine was taken care of. I was in a beautiful garden, in a big, beautiful house. I had this beautiful friends and everything going on. We had servants, everything, food, everything was covered. I didn't have any care in the world. And one of the guys there, an amazing guy, his name was Harish. And Harish was like, Ken, you know what the real thing is in the world? Oh, he had one saying, we're on a big crazy train to nowhere, but nowhere is a million times better than this. And then he was saying to me, try to sit, 3 days. Pick a spot and just sit there and do nothing. So I was like, I got tons of time. This guy doesn't say things flippantly, so I got a spot, got a hammock. I told people what I was doing. They agreed to bring me some food. I got a hammock. I put it up on this porch over a pool under the shade of a tree. Nice, deep hammock. Woke up on a who knows what day of the week, on a Monday. Sat in the hammock in the morning. Sat there all day. Stretched a little bit, went, peed, ate food, but mainly just sat there and literally did nothing. Like I watched the flowers. And in doing, I started to realize even the first day, I'm like, so much of what I do is to get entertainment or food or feed, or I'm doing something to better myself. Whether it's, Lord knows now, people with watching their phones, watching the news, watching a video, cooking food, some stimulus is always going on. And when I sat there by the second day, I was just like so welcoming to boredom. And when I welcomed boredom, I welcomed connectivity and presence. And I just sat there in states of sitting in my hammock in Bali, 2000 and whatever it was, too, during the SARS thing. Doing nothing. I remember watching some flowers and was like, watching a bee walk down a flower and was like, just observing it. Third day rolls around, people start visiting me. I'm like, I don't have a rule against getting visited. I didn't plan on people, but people were like hanging out. And on the third day, this one guy from Germany's hanging out, and he goes, hey man, he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but we really need someone in our performing arts troupe. They do shows. And I was like, well, I'm really just want to sit in this hammock and do nothing. And he said, well, why don't I just train you on how to do the staffs, and you could be in our performances. They pay really well. We travel Singapore, we travel Thailand, we travel all over doing these performing shows, and we need someone. And I was like, well, I could do that. I could learn that, but I really just want to sit here. and other people were there, and they were going on adventures and going out and then coming back and hanging out with me at the hammock. I was like some Yogi Baba just sitting in the hammock every day. People are sitting around, and the next day I was like, I'm going to keep sitting in the hammock. There's no rules. I'm going to sit in the hammock again and do nothing. Ended up, I popped out of the hammock on the 4th day and started training with the Stas, and before you know, I was in a big troop and made new connections, and so much happened in those really 3 days. I gave up on the 4th day. But I just pose this to you, knowing Prime Healing. What is boredom? What is idleness is a better word. Bore, like you're boring into a dumb thing, like the wrong direction. Boredom. But when you feel that feeling of boredom, can you just sit in your yard? Sit in your house and look out the window. There's this air of like boredom, and be with boredom. Be with it and bring it through and bring in presence and being amazed by your surroundings and who you are. Do the Prime Healing breathing in boredom. Get a chair. Put it somewhere that's boring. Do nothing for like an hour, half hour, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. Make it a habit of being idle, going into the neutral. See what happens to your ability to access resources or be in harmony with yourself and harmony with the world is a better way to put it. Oh, there's my cat in the background. He's Velcro. He's probably going in the pond to drink water. What do you notice when you sit still? There's sitting still and like still being active in your mind and generating thought, and generating stimulus and thinking cool things and figuring the universe out, figuring yourself out, being magical and all that. Then there's just sitting there like literally doing nothing in a state of presence. You practice the breathing to get into it, maybe meditate or something, and do nothing for a bit. Not for any gains or benefits, but to actually meet boredom and to sit idle. So that's my most unexciting video ever. I don't think I'm going to publish this one. If I do, hallelujah. 7 minutes long, but there's literally somebody sitting there telling you to do nothing. Put your phone down. Put your schedule down. Put your job down. Put your kids down. Put your wife. Put everything down. Put your plans. Put your doings. Put your gardening. Put your things down. You just sit. I know some people, they smoke cigarettes and do it. That's cool. That's cool. But usually they're chatting while they're doing it, even on their phones. I mean nothing. And that nothingness, maybe you discover that boredom and presence are connected. And maybe you realize that your alignment with your own self is alignment with the world. And you can start to harmonize. Things will bubble up out of the nothing. You can go off and do stuff, and you might find when you go off and do stuff, you have a much more clear direction toward the doing. The doing brings you back to the not doing. You really be a doer when you have the not doing down. People like A-types, they do so much frantically that they're not even doing the purpose is to make them happy. They end up frazzled. What was that project and making that money even about? When you come from that neutral spot, when you can get a chair in your house, sit back, just be in nature, just be there for a while. It's a cool place to be. So, it's probably gonna fall on deaf ears, this video, but the duality between boredom and doing, that neutral place. When you're sitting in your idle, just neutral, just kicking it. Watch what magnetizes toward you. People spend 1,000 hours doing. Man, spend 1 hour not doing. Makes the doing so much more pleasurable. That's Ken for now. The mosquitoes are out right now. I'm signing off. Maybe you'll see this video. But if you do, and I have links to the books and shit, read that thing. It's ending up being very, very nice.